Okay, just a second. Yep. Gonna sneeze. Nasty. Okay. Santana Wins says, "You learning? I'm learning." Just a second. Live streaming on YouTube. I'm learning. So mic's working. Everything's connected. I'll just post this real quick on LinkedIn, see who's going to see it and join. Diego, happy evening stream. Yes, holiday evening. Holiday evening. It's a holiday, and I'm doing my thing. Is today tea food? Tea fueled? Tea fueled? Or tea fueled meaning this one? This thing? I don't know. I got Hanamizu right now. This weather's I'm not really good at this weather. Hot coffee. Coffee at 9 p.m. That's how I do it, guys. Coffee at 9 p.m. That's how I do it. Oh, I've got I've got a shikwasa. I've got this one. Let me check. Let me show you what I've got in the fridge. I will drink it after. Where is it? It's one of my favorite ones, but it's the wrong season. Shikwasa. What do you call it? Sawa. I don't know how to spell it. There you go. I've got one of these ones in the fridge, in the freezer. In the fridge, not the freezer. This one here. I've got a big boy. I've got a tall of this. What do you guys think? This is not 6, but I've got a 7%. I've got a 7%. What's a 7% look like? Oh, this one. Excuse my Hanamizu. I've got one of these tall boys, 7%. You guys like this stuff? It's pretty strong. There's also a 9% lemon. I think there's a 9% somewhere. Here, this is the 9%. It hits pretty hard. Just don't want I think there's not so much carbs in this, so just don't want too many carbs right now. Went to the gym a little earlier. Hope you guys are exercising while you code program. This is terrible for your body. After you become 40, your body just gets wasted. 7 to 9 in the end, you'll drink a lot. Should be good. Yep. And by the time I get to my second, that's when all the based conversations come out. So let's hope I don't get banned. Don't worry, I'm not going to say any naughty words. But the purpose of this today's stream is, so if you saw my video before, I failed like a lot of senior positions. Jeez, this is nasty. So the reason I failed I'm applying for senior positions, and yeah, I failed 4, and 1 I might have in the end of this month, but just to the video is just showing you what kind of questions I was asked. And yes, they were all in Japanese. So based on these questions, there are some skill sets, some tools I need to update on. And the tools are quite simple. Let me just make this a little larger. The tools are here. I mean, the points I want to get through. How do you test in React Native Expo and test in React Native Expo? You would test just, I mean, I don't know the minor parts of testing in React Native and Expo, but I would imagine the E2E test would be hell to test. Just the components and the integration might be just the same as if you're making a web application. So I want to go through, I want to use ChatGPT to help me with this, because I'm not writing everything from scratch and learning incredibly slow in the stream. I don't want to bore you guys to death trying to get things to work. So we're going to go through, first off, testing became a hot topic in these interviews, and I think they wanted the seniors to really understand how to test, even though we know no one tests this much of a unit integration and E2E for front end. No one does this stuff. All the front end does this. They call it 100% coverage. They call it, I've got to make it larger. I've got to make this a little larger. So, okay, you can see quite clearly large fonts here. And nobody want to test front end. Yeah, nobody wants to test it. Look, with API testing, it's mostly straightforward, right? With API testing, look, let me just, I don't know, what are the tests involved with, I'm using, gotta refresh. What are the tests involved with server side? Maybe I'm naive about this. So what are the tests involved in server side dev? Well, I'm just API and what is it? What else are we looking at? API tests, database. Do you guys test database? So PJ says API testing or other integration tests. AI can do that. Write feature, feed AI in the feature, and ask for bad or good. Yes, that's what I'm just trying to look at and just try to find out how they test these simple components. Abdi Ram says the only time I had fun writing test was in Spring Boot. So let's we're checking here so what chat GPT says. GPT says unit testing. So you guys, how would you test the components? Yeah, but if you have a server side, right? You just have you basically have API routes, right? Then those routes have is it controllers? It's basically your function that runs, and then you also have your services is some type of API calls. This is my understanding. So you'd have to test what API calls, your controllers, and test the routes. Like I'm guessing these are all. Then you'll have your DB, the DB side. So do you test DB? You test here. You see what I'm getting at now? The only time, okay, Peter says, for front-end, maybe Storybook for component testing and snapshot testing. That's right, Peter, you're right. And that's what I was using in my previous company. There was actually no unit tests. They were just using Chromatic, which I'll show some people. And it will just take snapshots, you're right, of the previous build and the current build's image for every, is it for every storybook? For every storybook, it will take snapshots. And if those snapshots change, yeah, here we go. This is a great example, guys. This, of course, is a static graph. This is not some updating graph. This is a static graph. And it will take the previous build and then the new build. And then the new build, if it changes, it will give back an error in your GitHub actions. You can check it out and accept the diff or decline it. And then that engineer would have to go back and fix their code. So I've used this for 6 months. I think it's pretty good. But I think it costs quite a bit of money. So I don't want to test out expensive things. And also this company I was working for, we only had this and we had no unit testing. So unit testing is almost zero. Not zero, but I think they had a few only for the base components. So that's my experience with front-end testing. And I mean, interesting front-end testing. Besides that, it's just been your generic unit test for front-end. So just quickly check the back-end, what they do for back-end. Okay, there's quite a few. Stress tests. Come on, no one does stress tests. Does anyone do stress? If you guys do this, stress testing, maybe it's just me, but I've never seen it. Security, I've never seen this. Never seen testing this. No, half of the stuff you never see in any project. Jest is dead apparently. No, I think Jest is still there, isn't it? Was it React testing library? Is that Jest? Jest versus React testing library. Jest is a JavaScript testing framework designed for unit testing, while React testing library is a utility to test React components by simulating user interactions. So it's you're basically using something like a Storybook then. React testing library. You got told something. Yeah, man. I don't know what we have to use. That's the thing about the front end. We don't know what we have to use. One guy's going to tell you use this. Another engineer is going to say we don't need it. We just use chromatic and diffs, if that's the right wording. But I don't want to get into chromatic. I think it costs a bit of money. Oh, it's made for Storybook, not made by, made for Storybook. So I think this is pretty good when you don't have to write tests because you don't start enough tests. But anyway, they want senior engineers to know and explain how to integrate each one of these, unit integration and E2E. So I just checked out server-side testing, and no one's writing all these tests. So I'm going to quickly go there now. We're going to go into, yeah, that's hot stuff. The chromatic stuff, right? But like the guy said before, I wonder if chromatic has for apps, for iOS apps. Is that? I mean, it has nothing to do with iOS, right? So how would you test iOS apps? Okay, I'm not going to get into this. I'm not getting into smartphone development. So we're going to go to front-end dev. So we're going to go to create some reusable components. So help me create a few. And the thing about these reusable components, they have to be up to standard, the standard, right? So we have to have it in TypeScript. Oh, you can use React testing library for mobile. That's great. Great to hear. So we're going to have create me a few React based components and TypeScript. You have to TypeScript or else you will get in trouble these days. The police will come. And then we also have to add some other things. You have to also add that, so make it so we can add class names to props, and also that, and also the rest, is that how you call it? This part here, rest props. Also, what else? What else do I need? Hello, blanking 0. I'm trying to get it to write nice, basic base components. Let's go React base input. Input, that's always the most important thing, right? Input, one of the most important components. Input. And then we're also going to make it CSS modules. Is that what it's called these days? CSS modules? I'm not going to use that. I have to use my incognito. CSS modules. Why isn't it using English? CSS modules. Yes, this one here. So you have a class name and then you put it into, oh, this is ugly. You put it in a component as that class. So we're going to have CSS modules. What else is there? It says here, Black Eye Zero says, are there actually black companies in Japan? Saw the sidebar. Yes, there are. There are. Which sidebar? Which part? Black company in Japan. Yep, there are. There are black companies. But do you know what black companies means? I mean, you might, if you don't know anything about Japan, you might think I mean in terms of race, but it's not about race. Oh, same in South Korea. I think South Korea has some pretty bad, probably even worse than Japan. I don't know much about Korea, but I'm guessing it's pretty rough in Korea, especially these days. Someone, so Out of Palata says, Campania Negra. Compania Negra. Please don't be a bad word. Don't get me in trouble, guys. You can put any language and I will read out that language. And because I don't know, I'll just say, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm from New Zealand. Okay, so make it, so I'm trying to get AI to make a clean React component with all the right rules and also make a test for it. So right now we go class name to props, add the rest props. Well, someone else is writing. It's Peter says it's Tailwind right now, the thing in Japan, or is it plain CSS? Peter, it's Tailwind. Tailwind is all over Japan right now, or Tokyo, that is. So Tailwind's the right to go. Tailwind's the way to go these days. It's just that I don't want to become a Tailwind dev. You know what I mean? I don't want everything to be default in Tailwind because it feels like, are we going back to this? Is this what we're doing, guys? Is this Tailwind's just a cool bootstrap? We already have it. We already have this stuff, guys. Look, that's your Tailwind. That's your Tailwind, guys. We've been through this before. 8 years ago, we've done this. Why you guys? And look, they also have utility classes too. So I don't know why everyone's cooming over Tailwind. Come on, guys. But yeah, Tailwind's popular these days. Okay, evening. Woodchuck says evening. Also, Jason says can I say those words? Or negra means black in Mexican. Okay, thanks, Jason. Por favor. Woodchuck says evening Devipo. Evening Woodchuck. Return of the Woodchuck. How much chuck would a woodchuck? PJS, it depends on the company. Yep. Black companies in Spanish. Get away from Frontend then. Correct. I will get away. But look, if it's difficult. Look. Now it's difficult though. Look, if I go straight to where I am now, and I get into backend, I will be in between junior and mid for backend. So let's just say I'm a mid backend guy. I don't know if I can't make $900 per month as a mid backend guy. They're gonna probably put me at around Gorjuman per month, which is it's a lot cheaper, it's a lot lower. But you're right. If I really don't like this, I should go backend, and whether it's Node or Golang, I don't mind either actually. I would like to do either or. I would much rather backend, but I'm stuck at front, and that's the only way I can work with companies. Got him. Outer Plata says cloud computing. Let's go. Blank Zero. Okay, I want to get this. Blank Zero says, have you ever considered building a SaaS? I was freelancing for 1 year, but as a new guy, I undercut my prices just to enter the space. SaaS companies, no, come on, guys. Hey, guys, what do you think about SaaS companies? The problem with SaaS is, let me tell you guys this one. The problem with SaaS is every guy and his dog has a SaaS business. And the chances of you making it as a SaaS company, it's come on guys, it's pretty crazy. You have to get funding for that. You have to scam a lot of rich people to invest in your scam companies like NTT and NEC. You have to scam a lot of these companies to invest in your SaaS business that every guy and his dog is making and will probably die off in the next few years. I'm not saying that SaaS is bad, but a single lone developer, it's pretty hard. Woodchuck says backend is the same code in his front end minus all the DOM stuff. Sounds like great fun. Golang is the highest paid language in Tokyo. Oh, really? Nice. Highest salary ceiling just arrived. Did I lose anything? No, Bruna. I am talking about my failing of interviews, 5, and then parts of front end which I want to spend a bit more time in and getting a little more comfortable having conversations about unit testing, integration test, E2E, and making reusable components. Okay, and maybe I'm thinking of becoming a Golang engineer. PJ says, Woodchuck says, my sources from Engineers First YouTube channel, Japan Engineers channel that talks about the stuff. Oh, cool. From Japan Engineers First YouTube channel. Great. PJ says, Golang is an interesting one to get your skill set these days. Nice. Abraham says, DevOps is hot these days. Yeah, DevOps is hot, but I feel DevOps feels unsafe. DevOps feels... So DevOps feels... Is there images? All this stuff here, why do I feel like a server-side engineer would just have to use some service? Like, I mean, it's already happening, right? And then your server-side and front-end would just have to push a few buttons and get this all up and running. That's my take on DevOps. I could be wrong about this, but... Well, even a manager, they might try to make manager/DevOps. So like put them together because they're not coding most of the time. They just fiddling with settings, and anyone can fiddle with settings. That's my take. I could be wrong. Any DevOps guys in here, you better tell me what's up. Yeah, I don't have a high. Even I'm trash at DevOps, but yeah, I think it's just settings. Feels like settings, guys. Side hustle. Check out John Rush and Mac Lovin. No time. Not right now. Does anyone like working with CSS? I think it's fine. So let me just quickly check this, guys. Help me create create a React base input component in TypeScript. Make it so that we can add class names to props. Also add the rest. The rest is whatever else is passed through as props will be taken into account after the initial props. Make it CSS modules just because I want it in plain old good old CSS. And let's see what else. I think there's something I'm missing here. Also make all state related tasks in a service file. This is what happens, we just, let's see what happens now. All these people giving me all these names to check. Oh, no. Blank Eye Zero, Peter Levels is a hack. He's my favorite hack. Who's your favorite hack? Peter Levels is my favorite hack. Look at this. This is my favorite hack. Hey guys, become a digital nomad. Look, so funny. Make millions. Go to Thailand. Very good. This is my favorite hack. Who's your favorite hack? Okay, someone says, Edunut says, do you happen to know what a dispatched IT company in Japan? I'm coming next month, joining one in Kobe. Oh, dispatch company. Oh, Hachu, right? Hachu, is that it? Is that dispatch? No, Hacho. What am I doing, guys? Help me. This patch. I know the kanji. I just always get the dispatch. Translate. Always get the kanji wrong. No. Hakken. Hakken gaisha? I thought there's another word besides hakken. Besides hakken. What else is there? There's another word. But anyway, hakken gaisha in Kobe. Good, man. Go for it. Gonna have a good time. So even big companies, half of the DevOps peeps are just back-end folks. Yeah, that's what I'm seeing. It's a back-end guy who just said, you know what, I'll fiddle with the settings for you guys. That's what I see most of the time, but hey, that's what I'm seeing. Let them do the Git flow, CI/CD, Kubernetes, and Docker stuff, and we good. Okay. So who here actually can use Docker confidently? That's the question. We have to use Docker. One of the company I worked for, we had to Docker the front end and Docker the back end. Docker the DB, we had 3 Dockers: Docker front end, Docker DB, and Docker for the back end. That's when I learned Docker, and I forgot how to do it now. It was a bit of a mess of front end because the builds took long. Well, I mean, it got really slow at some points. Maybe we had the wrong settings, but it could be annoying. Someone's the guy who's wait. PJ says low code like Scratch developed systems managers would be a nightmare. Yeah. The guy who's going to copy it, I want to give some context, then talk about the problem. My CTC is like 5 to 5.5 million, but definitely not ending up 400K a month. It's more like 240 after deductions and rent. Wait. You have to, so we've got to get the calculator out, guys. So if you're getting we have to use Kyuryo te tori. どのぐらい 500万手取り500万で so if, based on this we're going to check out how much this guy's making at a hacking geisha and how much he's getting in his pocket after every month. Okay, don't worry if you're in a hacking, don't worry about that. Just if it's your first job. So here we go. Where are we getting this calculator here? So if you're making 5 million yen, no. I need tetori. Tetori? Is that tetori or tetori? Tetori. Can you get to the damn tetori? No bonus. It's around 400万. 40万. So you have 40万. Shit. I can't do 40万. So you have 40万 as an income before after taxes. That's a lot. What do you need? You're a single guy. What do you need all the money for? What are you doing? Yes, Bruna Mello, we have a Discord server which you're welcome to enter. I just can't, sorry, I'm doing like 1,000 things at once in my mind. This is a lot more difficult than it seems. I just can't do verifications right now. Yeah, Discord's in the description. Please go there and then I will check later after and verify you if you link your LinkedIn, because I don't want a bunch of randoms jumping in, sharing titty pics or sharing scams. You know, there's a lot of that stuff happening now on Discord. I don't want no titties on my Discord. On my DevOps Discord, no titties. But the base in Japan, it's possible. It is highly probable that there might be titties reveals. I mean, not mine. So income 40万はまあ全然いいんじゃない? I'm guessing you're like a shinsotsu. Is my dog annoyed at me? Just a second. I think my dog's annoyed at me. Let's see. Turn this aircon on. Yeah, I think 40 man's fine, guys. If it's your first job, 40 man's fine. Well, your rent in Kobe, if you live a bit out, your rent and utilities should be around this much, right? 10万 leaves you with 30万. That's a lot. Wait, am I missing something? No. 500万は that's not that much. It's less. ごめん。間違えた。33万。Then that, okay, now you don't have much money. You're right. Sorry. Hey. Then you have 230 left. Whoops. Oh, that's still a lot. You just need you a month. I mean, what are you going to do? You connected says, good morning or good evening. I am so cooked right now. I'm totally done. I need to drink coffee and then get that shikwasa up and running, that lemon sour up and running. So let's have a look now back at this component. What is it doing? How is it looking? Okay, so we made a component for input. It's assuming we're using styles CSS modules, and then we are putting our state here outside external states. There will be in this application, there will be no states hard-coded within a component. So in this here, we're using a React functional component. The types here, the interface. Wow, this is what I hate about TypeScript. Why do we? What is this? Why do we have to make this? It's a bit of a mess. It's ugly. It's so ugly. Can we just make it simple? Can we just make this simple? This should be type, right? All I know is if it changes, or if it doesn't change and it's always going to be that type, you just keep it as a type. That's what I've seen once. It's getting hot in here. Code of Jonathan says it's really a mess. Yeah, this stuff about TypeScript, I feel I'll ask if they can make it smaller. But this is simple, understand? There may or may not be a class name. So what we have now in this part here, React, I think there's a simpler way to write React. I think you just write it as a function. So anyway, we're just reading this example of a input, and then what we're getting here is the class name default is an empty string and rest. And we're just passing in rest as the last, what we call this, prop. Class name, so this is the part here, we have class names. We have the actual input class style, input styles. Wait, just a second. This reusable component has its own style, its default style. We may need to override the style for any reason you could come up with. So we have the original input style and anything within. But I think there we have to use CLXS for this, I think. CLXX, which I've seen used quite a lot. I don't know why we have to use this. CLXS. English, damn it. English. We have to use this, right? Okay, so I'll just check the chat. Peter says, I don't think you can use type and extends together. Oh, okay, so it has to be this ugly. Input HTML attributes, HTML input element. Okay, it is what it is. We have to keep it that way. I should say we have to keep it that way. But yeah, I'm seeing this used a lot, and I don't really know why we have to use this. Well, why we have to. Okay, look what we're doing here. Ah, geez, look, more mess. You're confusing me with this mess, CLSX. All I know is that CLSX, you hand in an array, and that is an array of styles. We don't have to use it, but I guess if that's the cool hot thing that everyone's using these days in the JS soy dev world, we've got to use it, or else you're not cool enough, okay? You can't wear a turtleneck to work anymore. And then the value is used in this service. The service handles value and on change. I'm just trying to think now. Okay, then we go here, service for file management. Here we've got the service for that reusable component. But the problem is now, how would I use this component? How would I use this component in a form? So let's ask, help me put this component in a form. CSS module here, we just have a general CSS, and it says as input. You can change that name to input, or I've seen a lot of people use root. So instead of input, they'll say root, and they keep all base components. All components kind of have this root as its main class, root and main maybe. So now we ask, now put this, okay, now make a, why is it on the right here? So we go, now make a, so now make a form and use this reusable reuse. So get this reasonable component and use it in a form. Should be straightforward. Let's check the chats while it's working its magic. Woodchuck says what? So Blake I 0 said, are you using React without a framework? I'm using React just as it is for now, as base. We're not using anything else for now. This is just to wrap my head around first reusable components and how we would test them. I think TypeScript changed some things, but ChatGPT has old documents. Okay, that could be true too. And then we all say, Woodchuck says, all is structs, always been structs. When you say structs, what does this mean? Sorry, I'm a soy dev. What are structs? What are structs? This is C programming language. Is there an image for me? I'm learning. So you mean in JavaScript world, it just becomes an object. Everything is an object. Just an object, right? Struct is an object. Struct is an object. Object is a struct. Sorry guys, I'm a soy dev. I've only worked with JavaScript. GM says, class names are 100%, Gaza says. GM says, hello to the resident and the doggo. The doggo is resting. Can you handle states from custom hooks? Can you handle states from custom hooks? Let me just check this. Can you handle states? Let me just check this, write this down. Because there are some things you can do with states, which I think I've seen before. I'll just go through it in a minute. Basic example without CLSX. Sorry, I am so tired. When your class name props is null and re-rendered class will be input, CLSX will remove that white space. Oh, thank you. The Gaza just, look, I want to copy what you said here and write down as notes. Write it down as notes to save for later. Thank you. Probably about C. How many monitors do you use for work, bro? Just one, two. Where's my let me just show you. I've only started using two like about a year ago. It's basically this. This is my setup. Rate my setup. This is my setup. What else do you need, Don't need much. Don't need much. See my sofa. Okay, now I've got to make my face a little smaller. You don't need to see everything in, wait, okay, there we go. Now we're checking a lot of chats today. How many monitors? Structs are essentially a class without methods in simple terms. PJ, thank you. Structs are, Structs is essentially a class without methods. Thank you very much. Okay, now we're going to go on to check this form. How would this component that we just made be used in a form? Okay, so we got use state form values, understandable, set form values. This is not using any this is not using React forms. This is just using state right now. So I'm not worrying about using a form state manager right now. We're just trying to see how this component can be used. Handle change, handle submit. No. So, but okay, just a second. Why would we have now two on changes form values? Why would we have on change and handle change? You declared twice. It's declared here, and it's also declared inside the React component here. And on change is from input service. That service, this is incorrect now. This is incorrect. The service should be in props. No, I'll tell it. Why is it putting, why is the input state on change in both examples in the reusable? Why am I spelling reusable wrong? Reuse. I'm learning, guys. I'm learning. Where's my reuse? Geez, reusable and the reusable component, and in the reusable component and form. Great observation. Learning. Oh, geez, now it's going to tell me a whole essay. I don't want to do that. It says here, someone just said, Woodchuck says, I'm a soy dev too. Very good. Eric V AI says, do you like programming? You'll find out in this video. Blank Eye Zero says, not, oh wait, is that to me or someone else? Not necessarily. I think it's similar to that of an enum. Although an enum is also an object. Okay, now we're getting into crazy talk, guys. We're talking about enums being objects, and that being similar to a struct, and a struct being an object without functions. Okay, great. Thank you. You have made the stream a lot easier. Eric VS AI says, are you from Mauritius? Yep. Is that M1 Air? No, this is a, I can't show, right? You're going to find out. This is a, about this Mac. This is a M2 Pro 16 gigabyte. And I'm still using macOS Ventura 13. You're welcome. Is Japanese economy, okay, this is Black Eye Zero is talking about, is Japanese economy failing very much because of some Forex dudes exploiting a yen? Can't answer that. I'm low IQ, sorry. So now I want to check if they fixed it for me. Yes, so here they fixed it. Very good. This is how it should be. Props should be here. So I was wrong telling it to put services inside the reusable component because, dumb me, that state will be used externally. That state will be handled in the form. So all we need in this component is a value and on change right now. So here we have a simple input React reusable component. That's what I wanted to do today. That's one of the main tasks for today, is to get AI to do it, because if I do it in my editor, code editor, it will take me forever, and that will make this quite a boring, extremely boring stream of a soy dev being lost. So now we can see here really quickly, here we have an input from our, wherever we're getting this input from. Let's just say it's in packages/UI, importing that. And where is our little input buddy there? There we go. We have input there. We're not handling errors or anything like that. We are just having a simple input. So that is a reusable component. Now we're going to say, okay, now let's test that component. Let me just check anyone else understanding or giving me, just looked it up, but kind of lets you implement methods in a struct. Oof. Most languages with structs still do that. So this is soy deving 101 as a JavaScript engineer. This is it here. So JavaScript 101, random.js. Ransom, okay, we'll take that. Okay, so look, whenever we are, look, I'm a soy dev. This is how I've always done it. I would say something like const app equals something. This is my app, guys. Do you like it? And then I would go, let's just call it job app. I'm going to make a job app with a JavaScript object. And then we're going to have something called jobs. And jobs is going to be something like this. Can I do this? Can I do this? I don't know. And then we're going to go add jobs. And add jobs will be add job. And then we're going to have remove job. Oh no, we're going to have this as a function because we want to be able to we want this dot jobs dot push job. This dot job, this dot jobs dot push job. This is how I was making web applications 9 years ago by myself. This is how it would be. And then let's say you'll have an ID, and I wouldn't use no TypeScript or anything. And then this dot jobs equals this dot jobs dot filter ID, and then the ID will be, I wouldn't use this would also be a function actually, because I don't really use sexy functions until much later in my soy dev career. Dot function, and then I'd go like this, and then I'd go return. So return, this is how soy dev I am. Return ID does not equal, this will be job. Then return job ID does not equal ID. This is how I would work as a soy dev quite a lot. And that's my app. And I don't know if this is a struct, if this is okay, we're going to make this app. Let's do it, fellas. And that's how I did it. And I'll just go, what can you do? Const job app equals new job app. Can we do this? Okay, soy dev 101. I don't know what I'm talking about, but this is how soy I was 9 years ago. Would use jQuery or basic JavaScript, and then do things like document.get element by ID. We'll do stuff like that. Document.get element by ID, by class names, See, that's how we used to do it. And you'd have to re-render every time. Re-render all on the DOM, in the virtual, not virtual DOM, just on the DOM. Okay. Code of Jonathan says, do you use Copilot? I think I have it, but I can't. Oh no, I have to pay money for it. I don't have it. Sorry. I don't have it. Fact says, I also appreciate your perspective on and ranting. It's interesting stuff, and I'll be moving to Japan about 3 years. Fact, very good. 2D Evie says, I think that React is awkward. I prefer using Angular. 2D Evie, let's do it. Do this in Angular. Okay. Do this in Angular now. Let's see how Angular makes a base reusable input and then uses the L sign. Angular. Okay, do this in Angular. We're going to do it in Angular, guys. So we say, what's a soy dev? Don't know. Which, like, yeah, I don't know React or Next or TypeScript. I just know Go. I am a soy dev in another language than you. Does Golang, PJ says, does Golang have tagged union discriminated unions like enums? Okay, is he testing my knowledge on what is a union type? Union type is this the one here, right? Isn't this a union? My union type. Isn't this a union? Where it's this or that? Or this as well? And then enums is basically this kind of BS. See, I'm not a senior engineer, guys. As you can see, that becomes one. Something like this. Like this kind of BS. Okay. More chats in there. Yes, best thing about Woodchuck says, okay, Coda says, soy dev is tech lead. Very good. Woodchuck says, yeah, the best thing about backend programming languages like Go or C++, things ain't changing very much year by year. That's a great thing. That's a great thing. Woodchuck says, you're going to love it. There's a lot of JS frameworks that then atoms in the universe after all. Blink. I0S JavaScript is becoming a whole lot complex ever since some bright mind wrapped a browser engine and called it Node. Yes, very good. Out of Plata says, I love SQL. Essentially enums with different stuff in it. I use Postgres in my current project. Blank I0 says, and understanding enums or object as a model and interface to hold types. Okay, thanks. So we're going to check how would Angular do the same thing I just did. Make an input, reusable input, and put it in a form. So Angular core, which seems like, what is that? Angular core, interesting. Angular forms, input. Wait, so does Angular core have its own inputs? So this is what we call, don't tell me what it's called. This is called, I know what this is called with an at and a component. This is called, it's same as nest. It's same as nest. This is called, what is this called? I forgot what this is called. What is this called? At component. Isn't there a word for this? Annotation, is it? Okay, sorry, I'm thinking of something else. Okay, anyway, so this is you're creating a component in Angular. Selector is most likely that ID attached to the form. Template URL, I love templates. Okay, we understand there is a URL because that's I think Angular's a templating. Angular's templating, right? CSS, understanding, providers. No, that's what I was going to say. Providers. Decorators. Peter Eng is, I want to write this in here. Peter Ng is the real one. Decorators. That's what I thought. It was a decorator. Because I've seen it, but it probably isn't. I used Angular a long time ago. Okay, and then what we have is an input component here. Oh my goodness, this is looking ugly real fast, guys. This is looking up. Maybe this is not an up-to-date. This is not an up-to. This is. I think I'm guessing. Angular is like Next.js in a way somehow. A lot of boilerplate. It's basically an object with some state in it. There's a decorator. There's a decorator of what you want to use inside this component. And then we have, okay, let me just check. Input, placeholder, type, class. These are the props. These are the props. I'm guessing these are the props. This is your initial state. The value is a string and the boot disabled is false. So they add disabled to this component, which I didn't ask before, but hey, maybe you need it. On change and on touched is empty. Don't know why. Control value accessor implementation. Write value, register on change, registered on touch. A lot of this. So Angular is still using this. Of course it's using this. Isn't it a functional programming? Not functional, it's object oriented. It's strongly object oriented. On input, change this dot value equals event dot target dot value. On change this dot value. On touched, we do nothing much. We're looking at the actual component here. Interesting, right? Having brackets like that. Interesting way to do it. I'm not saying it's ugly, but it works. It looks good. It looks okay. Not good, it looks okay. And then the style is pretty much the same as before. Now we're looking at the form. And the form here has a selector template for the component. Export class form component implements on init. On init? What is on init? Okay, so there's a lot more boilerplate for Angular. So this says, Geza says, it might be an Angular project soon. We'll mostly be learning as I go. So it'll be interesting. Hey Geza, what do you think of this? Is this a lot of boilerplate? I will show you guys my first Angular project was, 9 years ago. I made something on Angular, but it was Angular 1, and it was quite an ugly way of, my code was pretty bad. And it is like the constructor of the component. Okay, understood. Yeah, that's a lot of boilerplate. So we have ng on an, okay, I know the ng part. I've seen it before. We have constructor private is FB, which is form builder. Form builder. What's a form builder? It's a part of form Angular's form library module that. So we do this, I guess, on first render. Look, they're adding validation. So I'm guessing also Angular has validations built in. Angular has built-in validators. I need to ask, does if Angular has built-in validation, that's amazing, because when you're in React, you have to choose how to validate everything. It does? That's amazing. Isn't that amazing, front-end guys? Does Angular, okay, we're going to check the docs now. We're going to check the docs for this. I'm sick of validation with Zod. What else is there? I mean, you can go on for validation. Angular validation. English. Okay, validating inputs. Okay, we're going to have a look at the documentation. Yes, I do read documentation now and again. Angular build size is chunky. Yes, so I'm guessing Angular is only for like I'm guessing large business, corporate, massive, humongous, big companies. Okay, so here is an ngIf. Name.dirty, name.touched. Name.dirty means not that it's filthy. Is it the original text or the original before the form is submitted? I forgot what dirty means, but I've seen it a few times. Anyway, so they have validation within. That's pretty good. Angular build size chunky. Looks nicer than both React and Angular. Oh, I used to do Vue for like a few years. I have a Vue project which I have to quickly check. I have a Vue and Angular project, and we have to find out the project that got me employed. This project got me employed was in React, Flux, Node.js, Express, MongoDB. And this was 8 years ago, but it took me I started about 6 months before it was in Flux. So that's the thing, right, guys? I was doing Flux. I was working with Flux and React 8 years ago. 8 freaking years ago. Everything you have in React, right? Actions, components, constants, dispatcher, stores. I think I just wrote, yeah, there you go. All my stores. This is 8 years ago I was writing React. So yes, I am a soy dev, but I have been soy deving for quite a while. Let's have a look at my chat app store. This is ugly. Don't do this, guys. Look at this. So this was I created a real-time chat app in my application using Socket.io. So we can see there messages, user, rooms. You can create, update a room, join a room, chat in a room, and everything was written like this. It's kind of rough, right? You're gonna say that's pretty rough. Sockets on broadcast users. So every time you entered that on get rooms, get my room. So this is the chat app store. Yeah, it's gonna make me cry looking at this, guys. And everything I stored was in local storage, even the token. And it was in MongoDB. Interesting, isn't it? 8 years ago, I was writing really crappy code. Amazing. Get posts. Look, I'll use a var. We didn't use let and const back then. Right time to, you know what? I'm gonna get so we're gonna go back to, we're gonna ask this guy now. Okay, wait just a second. I want to get my Shikwas lemon sour. Shikwas, no sugar. Muto, is that how you pronounce it? Muto. Shikwas is a type of lime from Okinawa. from Okinawa. Gotta go. Yeah, you're gonna compile together PJ. It's probably not in sync with real time, but I'm trying to cut back on the sugar. I've been going to the gym lately because I have nothing to do with my life. So, gotta balance it. Kampai, guys. Cheers. Coding on a Monday night. Yes, just lime and alcohol and, yep, all good stuff. Yeah, great. I'm gonna finish my coffee. Bad combination. So now we're gonna, but this is pretty, come on guys, this validation is pretty ugly. It's pretty ugly validation, guys. Maybe there's something out, there's another way to make it easier to read. Okay, let's see. Now make the same thing with Vue.js. I love Vue.js. Vue.js is my favorite. I prefer templating languages, templating front-end languages over this React stuff. Template, love it. Input, class name, type. I want to explain to you how Vue.js works. The reason you put this, what do you call this? I call them two dots. See how dumb I am? I mean, I can't even speak English. The two dots, the colons, semicolon, colons. This is a colon. The two dots. The colons make it so if you go class, if you added colons before types, placeholder, and value, then you do the quotation. That is a variable. That is a variable that can be accessed in your script, in the script area. It's still writing. Why is it not making it nice and colorful for me? So these are actually variables in JavaScript. I like this. I like this idea. This is a great idea. So your templating class name is a variable inside your. So what we're going to do, I want to ask it to do use composition API, which is a lot easier. So instead of writing an object, okay, you have a script here, and then whatever variables you have in your script, it can be used inside a template. In this case here, class name is here, class name. So that prop will be used. This prop class name will be used inside this component as class name in class. Makes sense, right? It's pretty good. I really do like. Why is it still not? They're not adding nice colors to this. Yes, template. I'm pretty sure template can be another file, and you can just import that script underneath. Oh, I don't know. I'm not too sure about that, to be honest, because I was a soy dev. I wrote everything in one page, but I'm pretty sure you can. But I prefer this template, and then at the bottom, either you have the options API or composition API. Either or, it doesn't matter. And then you have methods written out like this too here. So this method, handle input change, will be used inside that component, handle input change. I prefer this over React. But there are not so many good, well-paid jobs in Vue compared to React. Way more high-paying jobs in React. And then, of course, I like this part here. Just write the style at the bottom. In most cases, you don't need another file. You can just have one file sometimes. Isn't that great? It probably goes against programming 101 clean code ideas. But as a soy dev, this is amazing for me. Amazing. And why is it not showing me? It says blank I0 says, I can only imagine Ruby being in the awesome language back then. PJ saying, saw an article of some Vim dude saying if you do more in one file, it improves production cause of navigation in a single file. Ruby's probably still cool. Yeah, I can't Vim, guys. I'll be honest, I have no idea how to Vim. I'm trying to show you Vue. Let's have a quick check of Vue. I'll show you what I like about Vue. Give me English. So I tell you what I like about Vue. I'm going to look at the API here. Composition API setup. I like this here. Look at this, guys. No, not this. Setup, composition, options API. I'm so confused. Why is it not? Okay, this is great. This is great here, guys. So we've set up count and ref is 0. Ref is more or less use state, but yeah, it's basically like use state. I think they have signals now with front end. It's like signals for React, but it's built in Vue. So when you use count, you return count. That count can be directly used in the template, in the button. And when you click, you can directly update the count reference, or it's called ref. You can update the state. When you click, you just update the state directly. This was, when I first saw this, I really thought this is awesome. I thought this is awesome. This is awesome. And yeah, setup is what I used in my own projects back when I was using back when I was using Vue. I think it uses Vite. I use composition API. I think not options API. Yeah, we're not going to go over here. So we're not going to go there either. So anyway, the point of this today's is to try out a unit. Now, let's go back to the React component, because I'll most likely be getting a React job. Isn't Vite being used everywhere? What's so good about Vite? Let's ask. What's so good? I don't know. I was using a Webpack for a while. If you're as old as me, you're using Grunt. Grunt and Grunt versus what? Grunt versus, you're always going to see Grunt, Gulp, Grunt. That was the first ones I used. Browserify, Grunt, Gulp. This is what I've mostly been using for the past. But at the start, I was using Gulp and Grunt. Then I use the Webpack most of the time. Now I guess it's Vite. Oh, I'm getting old. I'm too old. Grunt. Builder. Builder? Is that what you call it? Package builder? Is it a package builder? This is, what, 10 years ago maybe? This was back in the days. Back in the days, we would use this. And okay, uglify. and build. Yep, back in the days. So I think things just constantly change. Then we use Webpack for the past few years, and I guess now it's Vite Builder. Is it Builder? What do you call these things? Vite Web Dev. What do you call it? Vite Builder. English. Front-end tooling. Okay, and every website looks like Next.js. Awesome. It just looks like Next.js and Tailwind. It says PJ says, used Webpack once to put a compiler I wrote into WebAssembly. I pulled up my hairs on my head. Vite is immediately worked. Oh, cool. I've never used Vite yet. It's a builder. Bundler. That's the word. Bundler. Let's get started with Vite. What does it look like? Show me the money. Show me the money. So you just install it with npm. Okay, cool. Someone, so in the interviews, they asked me if I've used Vite, and I said I haven't. I haven't used Vite yet. So you got to keep up to date with all the soy stacks with these interviews. So I have to start looking at how to use Vite now. So you see where I'm going with this front end BS. It's getting I'm getting tired of front end quite a bit. I'm already opening up all these pages and it's becoming quite a mess. Peter Levios or whatever, my favorite hack. He's an absolute hack of a man. Meaning, I don't trust him at all. I don't believe him. I don't believe in anything he says. When you see this kind of stuff and he's on build 12 startups 12, I just can't trust him. Like this kind of stuff, you just can't trust people like this. You guys trust everyone, and then they trust everyone, and then you get punked. Like who's the guy who punked everyone with cryptos? And so I don't trust anyone in the limelight who's suddenly rich and trying to push some idea. It usually isn't what it seems to be. Mark Lowe. Is that the Asian guy? Who's Mark Lowe? So I think I kind of answered my question of how would I make reusable components that's pretty easy to understand. And a unit I will make in a second, but first I have to check out this guy. Who's this guy? Oh no, it's another scam. The Asian one, not technically, there's another guy, but here we go. This is going to be rough, guys.
In 2021, I was fired from a software engineer job and I decided to go solo and build my own websites. Today, I have built 23 websites.
Okay, that's great. Okay, so I'm guessing you saw this and you go, I should make a SaaS. This is also an issue. Like you see a guy making something. I've got a friend who's nice, a nice guy, but I think he watched this guy Peter Levios or whatever his name is, and thought, yeah, man, I'm gonna. What is it called? Indie hack. Oh, indie hack is a hack itself. It's when you get anyone who knows how to code the most, whatever, if you can just code a HTML website, then you can sell the idea of indie hacking to anyone who can code HTML and CSS. I think it's in itself, indie, I-N-D-I-E, indie hack itself is a hack. I think this guy made a good video about it. I don't know if he's popular.
You want to learn new data skills because your job, but you don't have time to learn new.
I thought, everyone's doing it, so I might just try it out as well. And so I moved to...
So he's making fun of people moving to Bali to be an indie hacker. And yeah, it's not, come on, guys. You really believe that guys in Bali are indie hacking and they're millionaires? It's just, okay, maybe one or two guys, but it's... people are quite gullible, and maybe it's all true, but you shouldn't believe it anyway. Even if it is true, you should go, no, I don't believe it. That's how I like this kind of stuff here. Like I just don't, I automatically just don't believe it. You start believing it, you start trying to copy and become like them, which I've seen guys around do. Which is, you can do it, it's your life, but I'm just saying, like, no, I'm not going to do that. Anyway, I don't know if this guy's about that life, but this just here, this soy cuck face. If I do this, soy cuck face, finger pointing, soy cuck face, finger pointing, website. You see potential as a side hustle. Yeah, you should do it. Enjoy it. Like I'm not saying don't do it. But I am saying is that you see this, you see some code, build, ship, soy cuck face, pointing finger to website, earn $20,000, 201.2K. And then you see this, people see this, and now that he's got you. You got to watch all his videos and you got to start doing what he's doing. This is an influencer. He's using all these memes, all these animations, all this like, you should not. You should believe in everything he says. In fact, when you see this is great. This is amazing. You should do it. Do this, guys. This is... where's the camera? How do I point to the camera? This is great. Do this. Make $2,370 in 2 weeks without marketing. You can do it. I believe in you. Is this live stream getting boring now? Because I've stopped coding. That's probably why. I'm not saying, no, you should believe him and do it. Do what he does. How to find $50,000 month business ideas. How to find $50 million, $50,000. What else is there? I don't know who this guy is, but it's there we go. He made many websites, but they failed, which is cool. I like that idea. I think failing is awesome. He made one boilerplate for Next.js and decided to sell it through GitHub. That took off. GitHub, isn't it open source then? Through restricted access for paid customers. What if we just teach African refugees to code in JavaScript? Hey, PJ, I don't think you realize, but that's what I do in my spare time. I am helping Somalians learn how to TypeScript in my spare time. It's just me giving back to the community. I'm doing it for world peace. Yeah, but this kind of stuff. I saw my SaaS. I saw my AI. This is another one too. AI SaaS. Do you know how many marketing guys there are on LinkedIn talking about their AI SaaS that they built? Amazing. Amazing. Okay, so going back to that, we're going to quickly check now with that React component. AI is snake oil. Look, I'm not, yeah, it's probably good. But look, you got to think of as, let's ask ChatGPT, how accurate is AI for self-driving cars? Somalian pirates, SaaS. So we're going to ask how accurate. Okay, well, what's the percent? At what percent can it crash or kill someone? This is what you're going to think. This is what I noticed thanks to a smart individual. Only makes money off AI is NVIDIA, yes. So anyway, the chance that it kills someone, what do you guys think if we started to have everyone using this type of automatic self-driving cars? It works, and then when it doesn't, someone dies. So obviously you want to find out how many people would die on average. And if you say 1 in every 1,000 people die if you use self-driving cars using AI, then you got to, okay, so we're going to lose one person per one, every one out of 1,000 people, one person would die. That's pretty crazy. That's pretty crazy. But the rate of failure is it's like programming. The rate of failure, like if I just told this AI to just keep making parts for me and then put it all together, we just need it to be 1% wrong to destroy the application, right? 1% wrong could misuse someone's private data. 1% wrong, 1% incorrect could make a button not work. That makes it so that they cannot purchase something. So yeah, that's my general take on AI, is that it works as a tool, but once it doesn't work, that's when it becomes a big problem. With humans, I mean, it's a lot easier to fix these small things, like driving. Everyone knows how to drive. Isn't that true? Or true enough, as my favorite stoner would say. That's true enough. Who's this? I want to start looking at things now because I'm kind of tired of looking at code. Klaus Schwab. Schwab. Self-driving cars. Let's have a look at this guy. So let's have a look at this Schwab guy. Oh, this guy's evil. I don't know who he is, but he looks... You just can't trust this guy. Where is he from? He's from Germany. Don't trust this guy at all. And look who comes up underneath. Another person I do not trust. Unless they give me like a really nice project, then I'll start trusting you. But this guy is, I've seen some of his videos somewhere. I just don't trust him at all. Look where he is at the World Economic Forum. Evil, evil. It reminds me of your daddy's Satan. Your daddy's Satan. Your daddy is by what the guy get told like this? What's his name? Jesse Lee, saying Satan is your daddy.
Right. Yeah, Satan is your father. You're a weak man. You're not worthy of children according to you. And the reason you're weak because Satan is your daddy. If
Satan is your daddy. So I think Satan is this guy's daddy. Look, when you start seeing this, you start seeing things like Great Reset, World Economic Forum, Great Reset. Yeah, good for you. Look at that. Yep, don't trust them at all. But who cares? I'm just a pleb, right? We're just plebs. What are we going to do about it? Nothing. You're going to just drink away your problems and apply for front-end senior React jobs that you are not qualified for. Blank Eye Zero says, evil World Economic Forum guy. Not elected guy talking big talk. What we gonna do in the world? Yeah, pretty much. That's the Eat the Bugs conspiracy guy. Or is he? Eat the Bugs. Oh, I gotta find out this. Eat the Bugs. Oh, I gotta write it correctly. The. Eat the Bugs. Jeez. The JW vibe. What is this website? Should I click on this website? Jeez. Music that sticks to my soul. Eat the Bugs. I'm not going to play that. I'm not eating bugs. I don't care what happens. I am not eating bugs. That's the Eat the Bugs guy. Oh wow, nothing and be your own nothing and be happy. Blank Eye Zero says, I feel defeated when I see websites made with Framer. What's Framer? Let's check out Framer. You guys, tell me some stuff to check out. I want to enjoy this beer. What's Framer? Gotta go. Gotta eat bugs. Enjoy the bugs. Enjoy the bed bugs. Oh no, here we is this a make a website? This stuff's been around forever. Making websites through a website, basically. This is nothing new. All the design looks the same. This is nothing new, right? Every 5 years there's some website that does this. They all look the same. And I'm guessing Framer it's been around for a while. When did they Framer Inc. When did they? Oh, there's a Japanese website. No way. When did this company form? Is it a startup? Here we go. Crunchbase has some information. One acquisition from Amsterdam, from the Netherlands. So I guess it's all investment money. Series C. Yep, there we go. 2013. Hey, they've been going hard for a while. Isn't it interesting when you see these companies big now? They started about over 10 years ago. And they're still getting funded. So it must mean they are not profitable, right? They're not here to make a profit. They're here to grow their value, not to make a profit. Increase users and increase the valuation. That's the most important thing for startups, which is why I don't want to make a startup. I don't believe in that, and I don't want to borrow money and con a lot of people. That's not what I'm into. But it looks beautiful. Of course it does. It has to. Design, management, site control, globalization, global reach, CMS, forms, SEO, animations. Let's have a look at these forms. Advanced forms, simple setup. Oh, you can make websites through this? Yeah, I bet you can. Oh, nice. They're making nice forms. Hey, that's pretty good. Barcelona. Sorry, Amsterdam. Barcelona's for me. Oh, nice. Oh, there you can use Google Sheets. There you go. SoyDev 101. Check out templates. So let's go Framer, templates. But I mean, you can't make full-on systems with this, right? It's not like was an ERP system, or it is for your generic, basic website. It's just like Shopify, or what else is there? So Shopify is another one. What's the other one for a website? This is only for e-commerce, but what's the other one for Etsy? Was it Etsy? Is that Etsy makes websites? The website builder. Oh, WordPress. WordPress is the biggest one, right? Squarespace. WordPress. Look, I've never touched these, and I've never, on purpose, I never touch. Okay, I had like 2 years of Shopify, and that was front-end and back-end development, but I would never touch that ever again. WordPress and Squarespace, I'm never going to touch this. How? No. Even if you paid me my current income times 2. Times 2, that's quite a bit. If you double my income, I'll do it. But at that point, you might as well pay a junior dev to make your website in these services. Many people make money by coding plugins for these too. Yep, that's the way to make it. So now I want to quickly go back and just double check how would that react. Okay, with the React, I want to quickly check with the React app. How would you make a test for this React app? Make a test for this component. So when I worked in another company before the previous one, 2 companies ago, they said 100% code coverage, but it was pretty much just base component tests, and the manager was talking so confidently about the project having 100% code coverage, but everyone on it could easily tell that this is not 100% code coverage. Liar, liar, pants on fire. There you go. We just wrote some tests. Is it legit? Don't know. 100% code coverage. Easy. And what you do now is, if you need it in Japanese, just get ChatGPT to translate the text to Japanese. But actually, Japanese use English in their tests. They don't use Japanese. Did you know that? The Japanese use English for their tests, writing tests, the test texts. So now what I want to do is, I want to see how would they use integration with a React form. So I want to ask, show me an example of an integration test with a React form. With a React form login page. There we go. Right? That's pretty simple. I hope it can make it for me. So it's creating the login form props, login form React functional component. So it's creating the form first. So this form is just a username and password form. The integration test will describe login integration test submits the form with username and password. And we're using Jest DOM. Screen, okay, that's one I haven't seen yet. What is screen? Screen is from the React testing library. Get label by text, username. Oh, okay. So we have a label here as username and label here as password. Is this too small maybe? And then, okay, this is just a form submit, handle submit. It's pretty straightforward, this form, just a generic login. Then render the login form with the props of on submit as handle submit. Handle submit is a Jest function. We don't have to write anything here for the submit. It just mocks, I guess, or makes a fake function or just an empty function call. But if you have an empty function call, doesn't the handle submit, there's no parameters there. So we just have an empty function called. An empty function called. Simulate user input, screen, get label by text, password, and username. Login button, screen.get by role button. So we get the login button. Get by role. So there has to be only one button in this component to get the correct button. Fire event. Nice. Makes sense. Fire event. User input target.value equals test user. Target.value equals password 123. Submit the forms. Fire event.click login button. Login button is the button we clicked on login. So we update the inputs, then fire the click, and then write our assertions. The assertions expect handle submit to be called once. Okay, is that how we test integration? And then next is expect handle submit to have been called with test user. Expect handle submit to have been called with test user and password 123. Handle submit is that function up here. I see. So this is just to test submit the form of username and password. So I'm guessing the handle submit will have kind of metadata passed through it, the form data passed to it, and we can check the form data here. Okay, I'll have to test that in real time by myself. Shows an error message when fields are empty. So we're on the top here, we are testing a perfect case. So let me write that down. We are testing number one. We test an integration on this case. So integration login. How do I can't, okay. Login number one is the perfect case. I don't know what we call this. The number two, we are testing number two. So perfect login case. Number two, we are testing the show an error message when empty fields are empty. So an error case of empty. So when there's requirements. So that's to do with validation. So we do the same thing as at the top. We create a handle submit Jest function, render the component with the handle submit, and we simulate form submission with empty fields. Do the same as before. Login button, set role, get button login, and then we click. So there's nothing in the form. There's nothing written in the form, and we will click on that button in the form, and we expect handle submit not to have been called because you cannot handle submit with empty username and password. So that would pass this test. Number three, next test is renders the form with necessary elements. This is a general test you'd always run with. Why isn't this at the top? I don't know. Why isn't it at the top? It should be the first test. It should be the first test, shouldn't it? Because if this fails, everything else would fail. So this should be at the top, in my opinion, because it's the first. Without this, everything else would not work. So we just render the component with a onSubmit an empty function. Okay, BlazeIke0, yeah, enjoy. Thank you for chatting. I'm just trying to get this done. This chat's getting a bit boring for some people. It's quite late around here, but thank you for joining wherever you may be from, wherever you are. I'll just continue reading these tests and making people go sleep. This is great sleeping material. Arigatou gozaimasu. Okay, so this is just, we're just checking if these elements exist in the component. Mario says, hey, welcome Mario. It says, saw your video about interviews earlier. If you feel like it, could you explain the point state management system? I never did big enough front ends yet to actually need them, it seems. Just use state vars were enough for me. Okay, so Mario, I'll give you, because I've kind of finished my test part here, why you might need something like a, so I'll show you, how can I show you this simply? So I have a JS somewhere here. So I'll give you, the most basic one is, the most simplest way to explain this. Okay, let me have my JS thing here. Let's say I have, let's say I log into the, so let's say I'll just write some text here. I'll make it quite simple for you. So we have a website. And we're going to log in the user first, right? When you log in the user, I think you understand this part already. When you log in user, you need that user info, right? Or the user data. And if you just go, if you just use normal JavaScript, you have a const user, and let's say you have a name, Tyrone, let's just say my name, or Ranson, I'll use my last name. Oh, I never use code and VS Code extension. So let's say you have your header component. So let's say we need the username to display in the header. So if you have that component, if you have, let's say, there's one way to do it. Okay, this is the simplest way, right? If you have your state at the top of your app. So this is your app. Then you have header. And this is, of course, this is your body. Let's just say header here. You're right though. You can just use that. You can. But what commonly happens with larger projects is that with header, it sounds simple, but you might have component 1. Let's just say this one, component 2, right? And that component, these are all children, right? Might have its own component 1. I mean, this is a parent, or have another child, right? And then what usually happens with single page applications is we will switch between pages. So this will be one page. This is quite often in single page applications. And then if you have the state at your root state, then you always have to pass components through children. So you have to go past the props here. So you have to go props, right? Then here you have to go props. And then here you have to go, so you're passing the state. Let's say you have state user. Let's say you have a root state. The user would always have to be passed down to use the user, right? And then let's say you have a page with, well, you can add anything else. Let's say form, I don't know the exact example, but you can have component. Yes, that is the point. You want to access this user anywhere in your application in many cases, right? And that could go on, it can get quite complex here. And that is usually how it is for single page applications. Yes, that is when we have, you're right, and that's why we have things called our providers, which I prefer. Peter's right. Providers and contexts and providers, which I like. I like it. I like, okay, I'll give you a really good example from here. Please, oh wait, I'll use it here. In React, show me an example of providers. I had a chat app which I made, and I just use providers. I just use context providers. I had a chat app, and the guy asked me, what are you going to use? I just use state, and just use providers. Context API with a provider is all I needed, but I don't know about other people why they don't use it as much. So there is a way. So here we have a context. You create the context, and that has certain states setters and state getters. I don't know why they're adding that there. And then in your components, you can use that context, and you should be able to set. Use context provider, user, and setter. Wait. How can I set it? I need a set. For me, the main advantage of using state management library is very easy to hydrate the whole application state and start debugging production issues. So, okay, let me help me out here. The main advantage for using state management library is very easy to hydrate the whole application state and start debugging production issues. Sorry, it's been asked before. Do you recommend for Japanese studying? Okay, wait. Peter, I'm trying to understand. Hydrating means re-updating the whole application. Okay, now we're getting into the meat and potatoes of state management. Now, what would be the difference then using Jotai or wait? I'm trying to think. I used a lot before of Redux and Remix. So I'm trying to think if I use context and providers, what would be difference then? Okay, show me the difference. Okay, I want to ask this now. Show me or explain why, not why I should use Redux. That's not the question I'm trying to ask. Explain the pros and cons. No, that's a silly question too. Based on Peter Ning's idea of to hydrate the whole application state and start debugging. Because when you update, if you use a state, if I have a state like this, right? So that's true. You can trace the action and payload to find the original issue. Oh, okay, that's it. I get it now. So that's why something like Redux is important then. I'm trying to show my... that's why something like Redux is important, because of Redux or the Flux architecture. This idea here, whereas the good image here, we can find out at which stage what was updated and when, which event handler was called at what and when. If we just have a provider, it doesn't give us that ability to understand what and when. Is that the main idea? Is that the idea, guys? Because we have all these decoupled parts, we can manage each part. We can manage the flow of state. Yes, Redux forces to follow a pattern. Okay, prompt suggestion. Thank you. Explain why using React create context may not be enough compared to Redux. Yeah, I think that's what I'm just saying, but let's have another check. This is great. We're learning, guys. This is amazing. This is the questions you might be asked. And I don't even know how to answer it correctly. I'll start getting sweaty and say the wrong thing. So using React create context along the use context can be sufficient for simple state management needs, but may not be enough when dealing with more complex state management requirements compared to a more robust solution like Redux. Here's a breakdown of why create context might fall short in certain scenarios. Context API, best for simple state sharing such as authentication or theme settings, which I explained how I'd use it for user information. Okay, again, this is a good question. Let me try and answer this one. Mario Dorbaj, why do you need to trace the action just for debugging? Yes, because, for example, if you have multiple API calls after one action, or let's say there's multiple things happening, then at each stage you might have a bug, and you don't know when that bug occurred. I'm talking about my ass right now. With something like Redux, you would know exactly what action was called and at which point the error occurred. With context, I'm just repeating myself now, guys. I'm just repeating myself. Fauzi says using state management library for debugging is amazing. I also heard somewhat that the same way we can create collaborative app by putting the state management in the server. Okay, Mario, I'll tell you an example. I made I made a chat app, my own personal one. But the thing is, it's also, okay, now I'm talking out of my ass right now. Let's just read ChatGPT and see what they're talking about. Okay, context API becomes challenging when you need to manage large, deeply nested or highly dynamic state. So when you have so many different components with different states, different part of the states needed. Well, in Redux, you just have, in the end, you have one big object, right? You just add all those key values together. But we separate these objects depending on the context of the application or the page. Makes sense. In that situation, the context API is not ideal. Next, with multiple contexts for different pieces of state, user data, notification, app settings, managing them can be cumbersome, yes. And I have made an app where I put everything in one object and try to manage it that way. Or you might have this one, which is quite ugly with a context, right? If you do this one, this is what I've done before, guys. This is how bad I am. I have had an app where the whole application was like this. The whole state was like this. Use state, oh geez. Const something. Sum is something. Something. no. Use state, right? Sorry, I'm trying to be as fast as I can. So I had this thing happening in one file as a context. And yeah, it was kind of hard to manage. Then you go const export defaults. I think it's like this or something. And then I just had that, you know, whatever. This is not the right way to do it, but set. Okay, and maybe this, if this is just your app, then it's fine. But if you have so much state and then so many API calls, this becomes a mess. This becomes a mess. So yeah, and it's the same for Vue.js. I use a lot of Vue.js, Vuex, I think it's called. So Redux, I'm just talking out of my ass and making everyone confused. You're very welcome. So Redux designed to manage complex state across large applications with predictable flow. And I think that's the important part, the predictability. Redux provides a single centralized global store to manage the entire application, making it easier to manage complex or interconnected state across various parts of your app. So this is important too. So I think you can use other parts of the state. So you have multiple folders with different sections of your app for different state. So when you, let's say you get user information that goes to the user, user store. Then you have some other store on the left here, and you'd use the user information from that store and then call you'd use an API. You'd have an action that gets the user information, let's say user ID, calls an API, then it updates a different state. Let's say user posts. Let's say you're posting on social media. I'm not really good at explaining, so I'm working on it. As your app scales, Redux approaches with middleware. Redux Saga helps handle complex async logic, which is more cumbersome to manage directly with create context. This is the one here. Yeah, I think that's important too. Async logic. Okay, sorry, just checking the chats now. For Vue.js, it's recommended to use Pina now for Vuex. There you go. Yeah, I used Pina too. Is it because Pina's lightweight? Vuex is for larger applications, isn't it? Pina is smaller than Vuex. So there's a thing with frontend, guys. It's just changing all the time. Let me quickly finish off this part here. Async logic is really important too, right? So give me an example. A Redux example of async logic. Here we go. Give me a Redux example of async logic. Yes, Pina requires less code than Vuex. And recommended for Vue.js Pina is simpler and recommended to all Vue.js applications. Pina is easy to learn, especially with composition API. So just quickly here, an example of Redux. So we have three, what would you call these? Action states, actions, action creators. So fetch user request, fetch user success, fetch user failure. Okay, this, if you haven't used this kind of whatever Flux type architecture, it's a bit of a mess to understand. But anyway, just action creators, just don't look at the code, just think action creators, async action. So for example, call fetch user request. Okay, dispatch. Then try response, fetch this API, then dispatch this action. So at each step of this API call, we can manage, and I think there's probably a good something to check on the terminal of what action is called at what time. So all actions are handled by this architecture. Sorry guys, I'm not really good at explaining, but this is your initial state. This is your big object that holds every single piece of state. Your initial state is that. And then, of course, when you use, okay, I'm not going to explain to you how to use a reducer. You are setting the state. Each time, each call of this, what do you call this action? This reducer, you are updating the state. So when each time the state is updated, you know which action changed that state. Where if you're using a context, you don't manage any of this. It's just a massive object that is a set, just using set states. You're just using set state. And I'm confusing myself. Let's quickly check out Pina versus Pina. Pina and then Vuex. I would say, Fiza says, I would say Vue over Angular since Vue is a lot more cleaner. It's a lot more cleaner, but I don't know if there's a strict architecture with Vue. Okay, Coda says, you're doing great. I think you explained it well. You have the main idea. I pass you. Okay, Coda. Thanks. But okay, you know what I mean though, okay, Coda? There are some things that like we should know, and then you kind of know it. But if someone asks you, explain it right now in an interview, I'm not going to explain it clearly. But if I just took some time to think about it, go through ChatGPT and just look back at my own experiences, we can find out why you would use one thing over another. And I think this is why maybe live coding is probably good for me, because people start asking me questions, which I cannot answer straight away. Anyway, Vuex. I've used Vuex quite a few times. I like it. So this is a counter app. You have your initial state, which you must use the key function here is data. You return the count of 0. Template is just a typical view of a template. It's a div that uses count, the count state variable. Okay, wait. Now we're talking. This is what we're talking about now. I like this conversation we're having now. Kazui says, Visa says, I would say Vue over Angular since Vue is a lot more cleaner. That's as a ex-Vue engineer for like three years and a bit. I don't know if Vue is cleaner. I'm just saying that because it can get really messy. Because I'm a Soy I know how messy Vue and React can get. Now, Fazoi says Angular is very opinionated. Now you know that there's probably a lot of boilerplate. There's a strict way to do things. Is that cleaner? If you use the whole clean code ideology, is it not ideology? It's the clean code way of doing things. Angular, Fauzi says, Angular equals one way to build things. Each project is similar, easy for new onboards. That's something that's quite interesting because when you work on a React or Vue app, especially React, people are doing different things with it, using different validators, making components maybe a different way. And maybe with Angular, because there's one way, it's in the long term, it's more of an enjoyable front-end programming language, programming library, programming front-end framework. It's a framework, and React is just a front-end library. Maybe that's the key difference now. But looking at Vue, there's quite a similar pattern to the Flux and Redux type of architecture, the one-way state. Let's say your username is displayed in a component. You click, if you click login as actions, that will update the username as displayed here. Dispatch, commit, mutations, DevTools, state. Okay, I'm not going to explain this. But Pina is quite simple, right? Where's an example? Use counter store data. These all feel the same. You have a defined store. This could be user, this could be posts, this could be anything. If let's say it's a job hunting website, posts, notifications. Okay, just a second. I'm just looking at Pina, which I've used it before. So now I am at a problem now, and if maybe some of you guys who have been for a while, that front end is just a bit overdone. Isn't it overdone? Isn't it overdone? I'll give you an example. So if I look at the project that got me, the project that got me my first job. Let's have a look at this. This was in Flux React, and I'm going to look at the server-side code, right? If we look at the server-side code, it's still usable right now. I mean, of course, you might have to add TypeScript, but I just wrote all routes into one. So if you look at server-side, it's all the same. You have models. I use MongoDB. You have things like Passport Mongoose, Malta for saving file folders, FS for reading files. Like, these are all similar right now. Maybe this is built in, so you don't have to import it. Maybe there's another type of way to save folders. But this is all very similar now. You don't really change. That's my experience is for backend. You're still using routes for post, edit, delete, update. I think if you can't see it, maybe you can see it now. So things don't, I feel on the server side, things don't change so much. You have a function that's a save post, you call that. After you have uploaded the image, if there's an error, respond with an error. Create an object to save the data. Save post is here. You go into. So this doesn't change so much with server side. App.get latest image, length, latest, oldest, limit, right? There's four, parameters, there's four queries in here. You get those parameters, this doesn't change. This is 8 years ago, my program 8 years ago. Your DB, you find something, you find all, and you sort it. This is all the same. App.delete. I should have it in the query. I should have post ID in the query, but I used it inside the body, request.body. So that's the part which I'm thinking, should I go to backend? Because frontend I'm getting tired. Say 2DEV says, God, I miss the days when I could just use PHP without GS. Things were easier. Yeah, I wish we could just go back to PHP too. I'm not against the PHP or any other language. Maybe PHP Laravel was the right option, right? But maybe because I've only been doing Node.js, JS type of code, so handling tokens is pretty much the same, right? Handling tokens pretty much the same, doesn't change so much. So yeah, that's the point I'm trying to make. I'm trying to understand lately that maybe I should go to backend. Might be too late. Handling sockets doesn't change with socket.io. Look at that old code. Look at me using my old code. So yeah, that's something I think about lately, guys. Should I just quit being a front-end developer and go to backend? But if you look at the front end 8 years ago, things changed so much. I'll give you an example, right? Where's my components? Chatapp.js, this changed quite a bit. React changed so much. We still use constructors, we had supers. I don't even know why I used a super, but everyone was telling me to use a super, and we still use this for this.state. We use component did mount, component will mount, render. Okay, these don't change so much. You have use effect, I suppose. But still. So Mario says, as a freelance, I imagine full stack would be the way to go. At least rough knowledge of everything, which seems like you got anyway. Yeah, so Mario, I'll tell you, I have experienced so many different types of projects, but I would not say I'm a master of any. This was 8 years ago, me making this type of application. I'm quite confident I can make most things, but I'm not confident that I can be a senior engineer and tell you why you should use one over another. You see what I mean now? And I'm having problem with this now because a lot of projects and companies now want specialization. They want hardcore React engineers, or they want Golang specialists. And unless they're trying to get as cheap as possible with a full stack engineer, they probably don't need me. They probably won't hire me. This is real talk right now. Peter NG says 18N, responsive design, state management, test, build tools, constant update of browser API. I miss the old days when I just needed to do some HTML, CSS, and JavaScript and call it a day. Yeah, that's what it's like now these days. There's so much. There's so much to do. And look, we only have 8 hours a day of working, and I guess you have to spend another 3 hours or 2 to keep up to date with what's happening. Right? We have to keep up to date with what's happening in the tech space. Now Next.js is out, and Next.js is out, and that means you have to learn all about caching. There's all these caching rules which you must know now, so you have to be a cache expert on top of everything else. Mario says, I kind of feels same for me regarding front end. In job, I'm only back end and very rarely on some small change on our Next front end. So all the front end skills I got from my personal side projects, which are basically code war crimes, yeah. Mario says, I feel like I can build many things, but by someone who knows what they are doing in front-end code, they'll probably just shake their head. That's true, they'll shake their head. I'll show you another one I saw of my previous company I worked in, this kind of a code mess they had. So this was a Next.js app. I'm not going to say too much about the company, but I'll say it was a Next app, and it was no server-side render, right? So you have a Next app, no server-side rendering. Then they also use atomic design, which is just, it makes sense for large projects, but if you never used it before, it's quite a change. And then the problem they're having now is that because it was not server-side rendering, they were just using app router. And then for state management, okay, this is what they pretty much had. Whenever you call an API, they'll use, what is it called? Lately, it's really popular for API, TanStack query. TanStack. They use TanStack query for APIs, and that was with Oram DB. Is it Oram? DB with Golang and not ORAM. There was some type of ORM that would use TanStack query and give back the it's basically API calls that it's basically queries. So TanStack query, so you would be querying in the, so you'll be using TanStack query, right, for API calls, and there will be no state in general. But the problem now is we need state. So when you had that parent, then you have child, and then when that child has child, and then when you have this kind of mess here, when you get into this, you kind of need some type of state management, because when you're switching, let's say you call an API here, you need to call an API here, and then you actually need something here. You need here. Right? It's possible that this kind of architecture ends up like this, and it could even be more complex than this. So when you have this type, and you can even have an API call within this parent component, I'm calling. And because React is basically all based on components, and each component has its own, like, let's say, service in some cases. This with atomic design, TanStack query, no server-side rendering, this kind of architecture can get really messy. So what they did is they had here Jotai. But even then, even with Jotai here, I've got to make it larger. Even with Jotai here, it felt quite messy now. This is quite messy state management. And if someone said, how would you do this? I would say, well, it was Next.js app and not server-side rendering. We don't need Next.js for this. That's what I thought. I thought this is kind of a waste of, we are wasting time. I mean, it's already made. The whole app, there was like a massive application. So I think you just a normal React, and then maybe some type of, just use Jotai with React, but because each route, you had to handle each route, and then TanStack query also you'd have to handle caching in many cases. It becomes messy. If anyone can explain this type of architecture and why is it bad and help me out here, it will be helpful. So yeah, basically a Next app, no server-side render. Yes, so it doesn't need another state management. Yeah, TanStack is kind of state management, yes. So it doesn't need another state management library. But now I'm trying to think why we had issues. I can't exactly find why we had issues with this, but the reason is we needed this data and this data at certain points of this page. So if I needed this and I needed to do something else, do something with multiple APIs, I think this is the problem, some type of problem like this we're having. And then maybe it wasn't a problem because it didn't cause an issue, but what it did cause was a feeling that something was missing, and maybe Jotai in this situation wasn't the right choice. Or then you could have services inside each one of these, right? That hold state. Now we're getting now we have component children that cause API calls, and the service holds state. This is probably not the most common case, but this was cases that did come up. I don't know how to write this clearly so everyone can understand. So having that Redux-like style is better in this case. Redux-like state management might be better because you don't need a server-side rendering. At what point do you need to reach state management? So I think the point when in this application, this is quite a large application. So I'm trying to remember exactly. But at some points in some of these child components, everything was heavily decoupled. Every component was heavily decoupled. Maybe some states here were needed in other locations. I'm not too sure why, but you can already see that. I think it's not ideal. I always thought that if you're not using server-side rendering in the next app and you're only using TanStack to hold, I don't know, when you call a TanStack, their response is held in TanStack query. It's not held in a separate state management manager. And I think it was something that, so Fauzi says, do they want the child to be dumb, meaning they don't call the API themselves? I think they wanted to, but there were cases like, I think lazy thumbnails. I think that was another one of them. Lazy thumbnails, when that lazy thumbnail component, called an API for that image. I don't know why they did this. It wasn't just a string. So you call the API for the image inside that lazy thumbnail component. I don't know what you call it, lazy thumbnail, whatever. Because Next.js, everything's, these days, everything's in a skeleton. So something like this was happening. I can't remember exactly. I don't have the code right in front of me, but this was a common issue raised that was never solved. And I don't know how to, if I had to make the application myself, I just wouldn't use Next.js, to be honest. I'll just use something like Redux, not exactly like Redux, but for that size of a project, I suppose Redux is probably the safest bet. I think, Jotai will be not here, but together with the parent component. Anyway, that's front end for you. I'd much rather just make API calls and CRUD API apps would be much easier, a lot more manageable than this horse manure of front end. But hey, it's what pays the bills, so it is what it is. It's 23:30. It's past 11:30, and I might be off I'll be off in a few minutes. But anyway, the point of today's video was today's study, and I went off on multiple things. Wait, just let me check. Let me see. Jack Flower, the skeleton is like a ghost element. Yes, that's how they. Okay, Mario says, when you're doing backend, are you focusing into third-party API integrations with horrific documentation? It's not all crud and sunshine. Yeah, it's not all crud and sunshine. When you work with Shopify. I worked with Shopify integration API, storefront API for the front, and also admin API for the back. And it wasn't all sunshine, but it was a lot more manageable than Atomic Design, TanStack Query, a Next.js that doesn't use server-side rendering at all, just using it for file routing, and one big jawtie in each large component. It's a lot more manageable than this, I think. Mario says, I'm working on banking integrations in my company. Got some PTSD. Okay, well, I've never done banking integration. That must be scary. I guess I'll stick with front end because I won't make too much trouble as much as I would in the back end. But as I was saying before, I just wanted to quickly see a reusable component, the best way to make a reusable component based on ChatGPT, and also unit test and integration test. That was the two. Actually, I'm fine with unit test, but integration test is something I have never done before. And just seeing ChatGPT give me an example of integration testing with React form, login form, it makes sense, and I can understand how to make it now. And I will probably just make it in my own time, play around with integration test in front end. E2E unit is fine. E2E test I have done before, and I kind of get it. It's quite fine with a Cypress. Is that how you spell it? Cypress. There's probably something else out these days, but I get it. And I'm okay with it in general. But that's what I wanted to just clear the air with, just to refresh my memory on some of these things. And of course, I went into a whole bunch of other questions and rants on the way. So good fun. Good soy deving. Lovely. Let's check out the chats here. Stripe is, wait, let me check. Jack Fowler says, hello again. Stripe is blocked by Zaibatsu companies, so we cannot have nice banking integrations. Oh, I see. What are the Zaibatsu companies? The Zaibatsu company is Tekken Zaibatsu. Heihachi Mishima. Mitsubishi. Yeah, that is something I've seen. Big companies don't use a lot of these tech startups. I think I've had that issue before. We couldn't, I don't know, I'm trying to remember. if I've had that. I'm pretty sure I've seen that around. One of the ones was the NTT doesn't allow Google Gmail. Is that the one? Puth Nara says, between backend as a service and traditional backend, which use the most in Japan? Traditional backend? I'm guessing traditional PHP, Java. I like Firebase because that's the one I've always used. Fisa says backend as a service like Superbase or Firebase. So I've never used Superbase. I've only used Firebase. Superbase. I've never used Superbase. Oh, that's not the right. This one here. I've only used Firebase, and I've always loved Firebase. But I guess it's more or less the same thing. Okay, you have a Postgres database. Not the same thing. Oh, you have Edge functions. Was that just same as Firebase Cloud Functions? Authentications? Oh, it's basically Firebase with SQL. Is that what it is, guys? And what is it written? Is it are they using AWS? Is it written on AWS? Is that what you call it? Is it written on or uses AWS? All of these services are written on top of something, right? It's written on top of something. I don't know. I guess Firebase is over. I don't even know if Firebase is using Google Cloud, but I'm guessing it's Google Cloud. Anyway, yeah, 10-stack query. I've never used that until that project. And also 10-stack table, I think I used. As headless UI. And that's the first time I used headless UI. If you guys haven't used it, so I've never used headless UI until a few months ago. I've always heard of it, but I've never really understood how would you use it, and also first time to use headless UI. Basically, you get all the logic without the components. That's pretty much it, right? The reason we use this for the tables, for listing data and tables. Yeah, basically table library. Would I use it again? Maybe. A lot of cons there. But yeah, constantly learning. I'm getting quite tired of front-end, and it's the continuous learning curve of everything. Continuous learning of everything. I miss good old Bootstrap days. jQuery and Bootstrap used to do everything. Now, soy deving is the only way to go, guys. Sorry to tell you the bad news, but yeah, I spent my weekend just soy deving and trying to keep up so I can pass some of these interviews. These failed interviews. It's kind of got me really busy lately. Anyway, I think that's me. I've been on for 2 hours and 40 minutes, so I'd like to thank everyone who joined. Just Mario quickly asked me, how do you feel about Tailwind? Tailwind's cool. You should use it. But I would like to just use plain old CSS. Thank Putanara. Yeah, I have another one of these. So I will just have another one of these. 7% Shikwasa and try and think about my life for a bit. What the hell am I doing? Yeah, I've got no more. I've got no interviews. I stopped applying because I'm just trying to prepare myself. The last few days, going through different questions that might come up about state management, testing, all these kinds of things. Just trying to get myself more prepared. I cannot code everything and learn everything now, but what I can do is try to prepare for certain questions. And they always are, and I have to do it in Japanese, so I might just practice by myself explaining to a mirror or in front of my camera these topics in Japanese. So Puthanara says, so you're looking for a senior position? I'm not looking for senior position, but if you look at my resume, it seems as if I'm a senior engineer or something like that. And the problem, if I don't go for a senior position, it might be difficult for me to get over 70 might be difficult for non-senior positions. So that's another problem here. Now, I'll be making less if I do not go for a senior position. So I have to, my target is above 70 a month. And for me to get above 70 per month through the agencies, through these freelance agencies, I have to be of senior position. But if I go off and start directly connecting with companies, I can pay over 70 700,000 yen, maybe 800,000 yen is fine if I go directly to companies. So I have to start going back. I was direct to company 8 months ago, but now I have to go directly to companies because I know that's where the money's. Yeah, that's a lot of interviewing. Yeah, 70 a month is hard for me to go under, to be honest. And I may not be worth that, but that's how much I've been paid for the past nearly 3 years, at least that per month. So maybe I'm not skilled enough for that. Maybe that's true. Or maybe times are harder in the tech world. Either way, I've got to find my way through it. And maybe it's the best way to do it is direct to company where they will be paying that. Yes, it feels like 7K USD for Japanese, but actually it's valued at 5K USD. Yep. Absolutely. But I am quite honest about how much I make because I don't think it's not a big secret how much engineers make, right? It's not a crazy especially in Japan, you know how much people are making. Yeah, it's not a secret. Like everyone knows, okay, you make between what? If you're experienced dev, even in a Japanese company, you're making between what, 6 million to, yeah, pretty much, yeah, Jack Fowler says pretty much 5 to 12 million. True, yep, that's it. And to be honest, your life might change between 5 and 12, but most of us are making between that. So it's like that 8, 9, 10. It's the 8, 9, 10 mark, right? 8 million, 9 million, 10 million, most people are making. And from 8 million to 12 million, I don't know if my life doesn't really change so much, to be honest. I'm not happier. I mean, I'll be happier to make an extra 2 million yen, but I mean, it's not unless you have kids you have to feed, it's not worth the extra stress. Puthanara says, for my opinion, just work in the company from developer to senior is good. Yeah, if that was the 1980s and 1990s, that's good. But I don't think that's not the way things are looking these days. Mr. Nara is depending on which company you work at, that might not be possible to push your way up to a senior. I don't know. Anyway, Jack Fowler says, yeah, hard for Japanese to mentally go over the 10 million mark for an engineer. I could never get 10 million from a Japanese company. The CTOs were making 10 million. So yeah, I can't make 10 million in most Japanese companies. And I'm quite open about this one. The most I can make from a Japanese company, with my experience, they would even try to test me maybe with some lead code or something. Not lead code, but they'll try and check. Was 7 million is the highest I can get as an employee. And of course, as freelancing, I can get over the 10 million. Not easy, of course. I have to do a lot of go through interviews and try to sometimes do 2 projects at once to go over that 10 million mark. But yeah. But from 8 million to 10 million, my life has not changed. Does not change. From 7 million to 10 million, it doesn't change so much. The only way it changes now, taxes are big here. Taxes take a lot. So the tax part, guys, I listen to this one. I spent I think on a 10 million yen, you spend about at least 50 man at least a year on health insurance. So let's just, for everyone out there, let's just say you're spending like 5K a year. So if you make 100,000, let's say you spend like 5%. Excuse me. This Shikwasa is quite strong for me. Let's say you spend over 5% of your income on health insurance, but I've been here for 14 years, and I'm spending quite a bit on healthcare, and I've never really used a doctor. So you're spending a lot on healthcare in Japan if you make a decent income, and you're probably not really using the doctors so much, as most of us are not the elderly. Yeah, but yeah, I know a lot about these taxes are really terrible. I'm not surprised if it's more than the US. 2DEV says leak code is nice, but we need to do it almost every day to get good at it. Yeah, so you do leak code every day, but your actual job, the actual job you're paid for has nothing to do with it. The actual job is all this kind of how do we manage our state better in this application? Maybe that's in lead code. I don't know. I've never done lead code, and I probably fail it. But most of your actual front end is a lot of bickering about how to manage this application, which libraries and frameworks should we use, and so forth. Yeah, Jack Fowler says yet to see one where it matters. Solving binary trees so you can align divs all day. Yeah. That's true. Gaz is on to of that one. You figure out that, and you have to make sure that you're using the correct syntax for HTML. You cannot have div soup. You must use inputs. You must use correct buttons. You must use correct span. You must use. You cannot have a P and a P tag within a P tag. There's correct ways to do this, fellas. Fowler says most of the issues come from legacy code communication, etc. Yeah. Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. But anyway, one of the top stories of today's video, I will just quickly go over, is this guy's, who's that guy, Nomad Indie. This is the news of the day, is this Nomad Indie hacker guy, Indie hacker millionaire. Where's the indie hacker millionaire? This guy here, Peter Levios, is one of my favorite con artists. I don't know if he's a con artist. He's my favorite hack. That's one of the main stories of today, which has been quite interesting. This guy here, I don't trust him. He could be right. He could be the most correct person, but I don't buy it. I don't buy this indie hacker, millionaire. Maybe he is. But it feels more of a. It feels like a thing that I'm just not believing in it. Maybe I'm too stubborn to believe in it. Peter Levels, there's a Peter Levels guy. I just don't trust this guy. I just don't trust him at all. Maybe I don't know what it is. You tell me. Nara says, which are the best way to oh, it's pretty tiring. Which the best way for Go to work in Japan, man? I really want to work there with my brother. Ask your brother. If your brother's there, here, why don't you ask your brother? Just using React also makes for very bad dev experience. Maybe. I like Vue. I prefer Vue over React any day. Felder says, being okay at easy lead code or hackerman problems can be good for some Japanese interviews. Yep, could be. Felder says, you can practice on Pramp. What's Pramp? Pramp. Practice mock interviews. Oh, nice. So the thing is, guys, I've never lead coded in Japan, ever. I've never had a lead code in Japan. And all the, until LevTech, all the projects before that was for the 5 years, most of the 5 years of 4 years at plus freelancing, was me hustling sales by myself, finding someone who knew someone, going for drinks, trying to ask for a project. And that's how most sales work in Japanese IT companies, even the small startups, the large. You find one point of contact in a company, you try to hang out with that person. I mean, they not hang out with me, but you try to go to nomikai somehow. They like you, they introduce you to their friend, and their friend has a project for you. That's how I've done it. Or you know a guy in your previous company you worked for, he becomes a CTO of another company, he becomes a lead dev of another company, and you go, hey man, do you need help? I can help you make that project. And that's the majority of my connections and works is from that. And I've only tried LevTech for the first time in the past 6-7 months. So this is still quite new to me to have to do lead code or open up the code editor and start coding, which I've done a few times in my interviews. So just that part, right? Just learning that. And which do I prefer? I prefer the nomikai, find connections. He likes me, so I jump on the project. I don't have to lead code. He trusts me, and then that's the way I prefer. I prefer the Japanese way. Maybe because I'm a soy dev. Nara says, within 4, can I apply? You can apply, just don't expect anything. PW says, I'm back. What's up? We're still looking at Peter Levels. I don't know, the indie hacker millionaire. So Blank Eye Zero said, what I learned is you cannot force make up web applications without server-side rendering. Wait, what I learned is you cannot force make web applications without server-side rendering. Force make? I don't know what you mean. I'm just saying you don't need server-side rendering. You don't need Next.js. That's all I'm saying. You don't need it. Most of these applications I was working on had no need for any of it. Fowler says, Nomi Kamini, I can't read, sorry. Blank Eye Zero, it just makes everything a mess. I'm sorry, I was watching a reply of 10 minutes earlier. No worries, cool. Yeah, so, PJ, you don't miss so much. I'm just talking about, we're just talking about front end, the mess of front end and things of that nature. Use SSR when in need of a good SEO. Fowler says if you have never made apps without React, Vue, blah blah, good, do it raw and learn good web standards. Yep, that's a good idea. The problem is I learned my first 3. I'll show you. My first 3 months was this. I'll show you now. This was my first 3 months. Where may share? Copy link. This was my first 3 months, guys. I think I've showed this before, maybe. This is my first 3 months of web development. I started off with the D3.js. This is my... Oh, that's ugly. This is what I made, and it's majority D3.js. HTML, CSS, plain old JavaScript, and D3 for the animations. So as data updates, all these SVGs have to animate somehow. All these graphs. That was my first job to do. It was really stressful because I've never done this kind of stuff before. You can watch this for a second. Oh, this is quite a... This kind of stuff here. This is D3.js dashboards. I'll replay it again just so you can talk about the power of D3. So you can drag these SVGs, and as the data updates relative to each circle, it would either get larger or smaller. And there are some custom parts. So for example, this triangle here, I'd have to make it so it would direct to the center of this circle. And then when I moved it around, it would always have to keep pointing to the center of the circle. I'm not a mathematician. I don't know how to do math, so learning this was quite difficult. Tweening between text so that it looks beautiful, things like that. This was a dashboard for a Japanese company to show each building and how much energy is being used using live data. And I also had to make sure that when you moved these circles, these lines also beautifully move with it. This is quite an interesting... D3 is quite a demand. I mean, when you use this stuff, it really makes you pull your hair out. So I was a soy dev, but I was soy deving some legit front-end applications. This whole area here, these arcs are all also not hard-coded, but these are all custom. A lot of this is custom. You won't find a D3 that can do this right out of the box. You would have to do it yourself. All these are text to the left. Word. Blanky0 says, are they SVGs? Yes, these are all SVGs. D3.js is mostly SVG manipulation. That's why it's this doesn't look beautiful right now, but the actual websites, they look beautiful. SVGs are very clean. Blank Eye Zero says, I overheard a similar problem for making analytics dashboard with Flutter. Can you link me some resources for the math? Bro, I forgot. This was 6 years ago. So making the animation so clean, making it go large and small, it was quite difficult. This area here is just also D3 instead of, it's D3 and UL and LIs. And then of course D3 maps. All coded with D3 and JS, HTML, CSS. Every single point here is has to be updated. So it was quite fun, but it's pretty useless now. No one wants this stuff. It's pretty cool, but I mean, okay, so this is the problem now, guys. I was interested in this here. This is what's cool. I was doing D3. This is D3.js, by the way. D3.js is a pretty awesome JavaScript library that manages all this, but you need to customize it. There's a lot of customization involved in understanding how D3 works. Excuse me, but I thought this was awesome. You guys ever seen 3JS before? Basically 3D JavaScript. I think it just writes. It's wrapped around, what do you call it? Whatever is the 3D library. So let's have a look. It's 3D.js. It's 3D JavaScript and 3D JavaScript. And I thought this was awesome, but to do this, man, I've got to spend a lot of time, and I don't think there's many jobs around. And to be honest, I don't know if I'm smart enough to be good at 3D animations, coding. This is pretty, I feel like I'm in a game. Good work, David. That's pretty cool. But I think there are some examples here. Now we're getting into the gaming. Yeah, vector math. No, that is so cool. Isn't it? This is 3JS JavaScript. 3JS JavaScript. Isn't this awesome? So from this, I was looking at graphs and 3D. 3D related things. This is all just 2D. This is all just 2D JavaScript, and there's a lot of math involved, which I'm not the best at math. But when you see that and you see this, you go, geez, this is awesome. How do I can't do anything. This is a 3JS. I can't move anything, I guess. Yeah, I can't do anything. Head shake. Agree. Let's do the most spastic thing. This is pretty cool, but there's no jobs. I can't find a job doing this stuff, guys. You have to make forms and tables. This is pretty neat. I'm controlling her hand. This is pretty neat, but you can't find a job, guys. No one's going to pay you to make a little robot unless you make the best robot. Awesome stuff, but yeah. Game developers do. Yeah, two of them. Two do. And everyone else, it's more of a hobby. Minecraft and using 3JS. Whoa, what the? You can use do Minecraft in 3JS. I'm just clicking. Yeah, great. Can I get Nanajuman making Minecraft? I don't think so. You get Nanajuman from making this kind of stuff. Business related software. So anyway, that's my rant. I always do some random rants here, so make you think for a bit. The cool things don't really get you paid so much. Stroke text. Look at that. But anyway, I think that's it for today. I appreciate this. It's already 12 a.m. in Japan, so wherever you are, I hope you're having a good time. And sorry, I haven't been. I had so many people jumping on my Discord. Thank you very much. I didn't expect to have 700 members already, and I'm really busy trying to keep up with people, trying to verify everyone, and I'm getting a lot of comments from LinkedIn, and my YouTube is also getting really busy. So if I haven't messaged you back or anything, I'm very sorry. I'm really busy trying to find my next project, managing everything, but thank you very much for joining me. Not many people, but I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, guys, and have a good night, and drink a lot of water. Keep hydrated. Good night, guys. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I should do that, not the first. You know, I'm not trying to be edgy. Thank you. Bye. Drink a lot of beer. I've got my shiisa. Thank you. Good night. See ya. Sweet dreams.